Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. I'm your host, Ashley Russo, president and executive producer of The Peak TV. For our podcast, we decided to explore the people behind the narratives. I'll introduce decision makers and influencers who are winners in their field and find out the intimate story behind their rise to success. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you guys to be here today with me. This is Unscripted with Russo, and I am here with Rahmieneh Ortiz.
Hello.
Hi, Rahmieneh.
How are you?
I don't even know how to describe you. I have a beauty counter and your jewelry brand, but you're just like everything. You are a fashion goddess.
No, thank you.
A beauty goddess.
No, gosh. Oh my God. Thank you. That's really sweet of you.
So, Rahmieneh, for people who may not know you, tell me a little bit about your brand and what you do, and then we're going to go back in time.
Okay,
Start
back
by
in time.
describing
Is
your
that scary
your
or is
brand.
that good? Or well, first I have to ask you, what's off limits? Anything?
Nothing.
Anything off limits?
Nothing's
No?
off limits.
I can say anything I want.
You can say anything you want.
Oh God, are you
Yes.
bleeping things or?
No.
Okay, you asked for it. All right, so my brand. One of the things that I was told very early on that I did not take this advice was that you should name something after yourself if you've created it. And I didn't want to use my own name for years. We had clothing stores and everybody said, you need to call it Rahmieneh. And I just thought, no, it's too hard to say. It was always holding me back, I feel like, in life. But I didn't really look at it correctly. I didn't really give it enough credit. And so finally, when I created this jewelry brand, I decided this is the time. This is when I'm going to really step it up and just own it. And this is my name. And it's 9 letters long and nobody can say it. And I don't care. And,
But it's beautiful and unique.
You.
And
it's freeing to be able to finally do that.
And isn't it amazing how much your brand is a representation of you anyway? Because ASR Media was sort of accidental. I actually had a cool name for the company. I'll share. Yes, I wanted to call it Popped Cork Productions. But now I want you to pick up a phone and I want you to call someone and tell them, please email me at Popped Cork. Forget it. It just was, there was no way. And that was what killed that dream. But
God, yeah, you can't do that.
But it sort of was like, well, if you're the how the brand starts and that's what you're putting out there, it makes a lot of sense and I love it. It's so unique.
Oh, thank you.
So Rahmieneh, beautiful 9-letter unique name, which will bring me into, tell me a little bit about your heritage. Where is that name from?
Okay, so my parents were both born in Tehran, Iran. And a lot of people say Iran, but it's Iran. And if you ever want to learn, I know you already know this, but if you ever want to learn how to say a word or a country perfectly, you listen to the BBC or anything on the news, because those people are told exactly how to say things. You are. They were both born in Iran and got married there and moved to England. And I was born in England. So in 1980, that tells you that I'm 21. I'm 21. 21 for anybody that's wondering.
That's your story.
Yeah, it's 1991 right now. Or 2001. So then we came over here to the United States when I was 2. And that's why I don't have a British accent. And that's one of the things I wish we'd stayed over there a little bit longer, but I have an American accent for that reason.
But you have very lovely diction, so perhaps you heard that from your parents.
Thank you. I hope so, yes. So we've lived in the States ever since. So I went to Penn State and met my husband there, and we moved to the Lehigh Valley.
Okay, I won't let you fast forward that
Come
much.
on!
All right, now what about your family structure? Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have one brother who is 9 years younger than me.
Wow, so big difference in age.
Big difference. I always felt like his mom.
Yeah, the older sibling. I'm the oldest sibling too, and I think you do get that a lot.
Absolutely.
What was it like coming over here? Of course, you were 2, so you don't really remember, but what kind of stories did your parents tell you, and what did your parents do?
So my dad was a chemical engineer. His specialty was in powder technology. Back then, I mean, there was only a few people in the world that had that degree, and that's why he went to University of Bradford for that. And that's where I was born. And so he and my mom, she worked, actually, she was a secretary for the army in Iran. And that's ultimately how my mom and dad met. And so they came over here. My dad continued to work. He was looking for work and couldn't find something. He was an immigrant moving to the United States, and it was tough. We were in California. So he went for air conditioning. He was living off of, funds that were being sent over from Iran.
Which is sort of like the opposite of what you hear, right? You hear people come here to make money to send home, but the opposite was happening.
Yeah, they needed help, and they were living on barely anything.
What was the decision to come to the States?
Well, one of the stories that I always hear is that my uncle kind of said to my dad, like, hey, they're giving out some green cards and visas. Like, you want to go to London and get one? And my dad's like, sure, what's the big deal? So they were like, yeah, this seems like a good decision. Okay, let's go to the United States. They say it's such a great place and there's so much opportunity.
And they moved to California.
Yes. A lot of Iranians go to California. There are markets events and radio stations and TV stations that are in Farsi, which is the native language. So
there's some sense of familiarity,
Yes.
community, culture.
Yes. In fact, LA we call Tehrangeles instead of Los Angeles for that reason, and it's still the same way.
And what about the culture has sort of sustained? I mean, how were you raised, and how do you maintain, I guess, if you have immigrant parents, how important is it? You hear varying stories. Some people are like, just put it in a closet, become American. And some people say, no, preserve everything. So what was your experience?
Yeah. Well, when we lived in upstate New York, but when I think in 1985, we moved to upstate New York. And that's where my first real memories begin. And we had a close network of Iranian friends there. And so being there taught me, we have a Persian New Year on the first day of spring every year. And there are certain things that we do culturally for that event. And I was able to dress up in those ways. And so that's really the pulse of what I found out was the Iranian culture was through that network in upstate New York.
What about food?
Oh, yeah. And another thing, my mom always cooked Iranian food. And so that was a big, but I was a picky eater. So I only ate like kebabs and rice.
I don't know how you could possibly say you're a big eater. For those of you who are listening, you need to look on the internet because Rahmieneh is a little spitfire of a person. She is so bold and
eat.
strong.
So do you. You love to eat too. We've eaten together. Come on. That would be funny. We should do a taping or like a live show. You and I eating.
I'm going to tell everybody that my 14-year-old daughter gave Rahmieneh
she
dresses
did.
recently.
I was going to wear one today. And then I was like, I was too all over the place. I know.
So there was a lot of recognition of the Iranian culture and
absolutely.
food and
not overly.
festivals, but
they also really wanted to. One of the fun things about my parents is that they are really open-minded. They're very liberal. So they're not religious in any way. I mean, that works for some people. It just doesn't work for my parents. And so, my dad likes to gamble and drink and have fun. And that is not what you would normally see in a Muslim country. So that set them apart differently. They would party every Friday night. There was, music playing till 3 a.m., loud Iranian music, and, windows would be open. And so that culture was always there, and I loved it. But they also knew that we did live in America, and we do live in America. We need to kind of assimilate a little bit. So we celebrated Christmas. My mom would always say, well, if they're celebrating something and it makes you happy, let's celebrate it too.
I love that. What a fun attitude.
So my mom's like, you want to be Jewish and do Hanukkah? I mean, I don't know if that's too much information, but
No, but I like that she embraced everything
like,
and everyone.
Let's celebrate it.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
It makes you very inclusive. And it explains a lot knowing you.
Yeah.
Just the sort of your attitude towards life. When you think about yourself as a little kid, I can pick any age you want in your head, describe to me what little Rahmieneh was like.
Oh gosh, I wanted to be everything. Like one day I wanted to be a doctor, and the next day I wanted to be I don't even know, an archaeologist. The next day when I went to college, they were like, every semester I wanted to be something different.
Were you into sports? Were you into
Yes,
clubs?
I was into everything.
Yeah, you just tried it all.
Everything.
Joiner, outgoing.
Sign me up. And I'm still like that. Like, what are we doing? I say no to nothing.
Yeah, so just embrace life.
Yes to everything and no to nothing.
Okay. And what do you think, like, as you walk through life, keeping that mantra, what has it taught you? I mean, you're kind of one of those, like, say yes because who knows?
I say yes to everything almost. And I hear a lot that you should, as you grow, especially with your business, you should say no to more things. And for me, that doesn't work. That doesn't suit who I've been my whole life. And so I say yes to everything, because every opportunity that I thought maybe I was going to say no to, like a meeting or a dinner or whatever, it opened a door for me. It started a conversation. It planted a seed in my mind. And then something else grew out of it.
It's so funny you say that, because of course people are always saying, you have to say no more, you have to say no more. And I guess there's a logic to it as far as like protecting your time and having your priorities and things like that. But I also tend to feel the way you do, which is if you don't take the meeting or go to the event or whatever, make new friends or go to the party of the people you didn't know that well, you just don't know where that's going to lead.
Absolutely.
And I hate that. I mean, maybe that's the original FOMO.
Yes,
it sort of is,
too.
Right?
Totally.
Yeah, and it's not
FOMO.
that you really fear that you're missing something, but more that like an opportunity could have passed you by.
Yeah, and think back to all the times you went and did something that maybe you weren't going to do, or you're like, I'm just so tired.
Yeah.
I've been doing all these things.
And then you get there and you're like, yes.
Yeah, and then you leave and you're like, oh my God, I would have never met this person. Or, I mean, you and I met by accident.
Yeah,
at
totally.
An event, and I was nervous about doing that event. So, and look.
It was meant to be.
It's meant to be.
Is there anything that you did gifted or have like a hidden talent or something that people would totally not expect about you?
Well, something negative I will tell you that people don't expect and are surprised to hear is I have anxiety, but I've been able to figure out where that stems from. Whereas just thinking I have an anxiety problem and it's just something I can't handle life, because that doesn't suit who I am either. So I was able to really nail down what that anxiety is, and that's just not being prepared for things. That's where my anxiety stems from. And now that I've been able to address that, I can kind of see it coming on and going, okay, what did I not address? Like, what email was it? What problem was it that I brushed under the rug and didn't deal with?
So kind of getting to the root source of it. I think that's really
and be
important. I
real with
appreciate you
yourself.
bringing that up because I do feel like we're living in a time where mental health issues and anxiety and depression are so rampant, and people are not getting to the source of identifying it and sort of letting it define them.
It's scary.
And I think it's important. We just have to give it a voice.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So thank you for sharing that.
Educating the little ones. I mean, my daughter's 10.
But they know so much more about like
I hate it.
mindfulness and getting in touch with themselves and taking a minute. And, you know, I find myself as a mother sometimes stopping and listening to them because I think sometimes the kids know themselves better. And we don't trust that necessarily in a child, but they say like, I need a minute, or I don't really want to do this thing because I need to take a rest or something. And I'm like, okay.
And how great that they can vocalize that. Meanwhile, we're just going, and we could have taken a rest a week ago. And
Darn
this
it.
problem
What's
would
wrong
have
with us?
happened.
We need to learn from these
We
kids.
do. Oh my gosh.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, I do want to hear a little bit about college, early jobs, meeting your husband, family, lots to cover.
Okay, perfect.
We're here with Rahmieneh Ortiz. We'll be back in just a minute, everybody. Time to take your workout outdoors. Discover Lehigh Valley is a great resource for finding easily accessible nature trails with stunning views and challenging terrain. Whether you're exploring the Delaware and Lehigh Trail or going for a jog on the Ironton Rail Trail, explore Discover Lehigh Valley to get you started. Follow them on Instagram, Lehigh Valley PA. Okay, everybody, I am back with the woman behind the Rahmieneh brand, Rahmieneh Ortiz, and she is also an amazing beauty counter salesperson, consultant. That's the right word. Educator. I think is probably the best
like
one.
Better.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I do want to. We talked a little bit about your childhood, and I want to hear a little bit about Penn State, meeting your husband, figuring out what you were going to do, and just tell me about that time in your life.
That was a time where I just wanted to like flee the nest. So my dad was a chemical engineer, would travel to other universities, and he came back from Purdue and University of Florida, Gainesville, and Penn State and was like, these are great schools. So I was like, okay. So I applied to 10 schools my senior year. And Penn State was the last one I applied to, and I got in and decided I'm leaving Delaware. That's where my parents live. So I left Delaware, went to Penn State, and I believe my first year, I met my husband, and first thing he said to me was, I'm going to marry you one day. And I was like, it's scary. We're not talking ever again. And this is weird. So, and I also thought, like, how many people has he said this to? This is spooky.
Like, that's his line.
That's his
right.
line.
Yeah.
Marry you. Like, that's gross. So, kind of went on my way. Didn't want anything to do with him. And he was pretty persistent. He would call. My roommate would pick up. And she was like, you've got to talk to this guy. So finally, after 9 months, I gave in and thought, fine. You live 45 minutes away. Drive up, and I'll go out with you on Thursday night. So poor guy drives up, and I open the door, and I just said, oh, sorry, I'm busy. Come back next Thursday. So I thought he would never come back, and he came back next Thursday, and I opened the door, and I was like, oh my God, he's back. So I told my roommate, I'm like, you've got to stay. Like, we're going to a party. You've got to find a guy. We'll go on a double date. We'll do the whole thing. So we did, and the rest is kind of history. I just felt like he knew something I didn't know. Like, there was just something to this, and I couldn't figure out what it was. We weren't right for each other on paper. We came from very different backgrounds, but something was there, and I don't know what it was.
I love that he knew something you didn't know.
I just kept telling myself that. I'm like, he knows something I don't know, and I'm just going to go with it. So,
wow. I love that. That's such a good story.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. What about your kids?
So I have two
beautiful children.
Zara is 10 and Sebastian is 5. And they just started school yesterday. My world was upside down, but they loved it. And, you know, a mom is only as happy as her unhappiest child. So they're both happy. They're both content. why should I be complaining?
One of my favorite things that you often share or post about Zara is her love of nature, and it's this intense. It sort of shows like you're kind of born right who you are, and she just
100%.
has this. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I don't even really know her, but like I'm excited to know who she becomes.
Yeah.
When you posted the video the other day of the bees.
Yeah. Oh,
I have like an intense fear of bees.
Me, so do I. I had to eat lunch with bumblebees.
Yeah.
No, not bumblebees. Honeybees.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to eat lunch with these bees.
But
and she knows that.
What do you feel like you've learned? I know this is such a hard to have such a singular answer, but like as a mother, how has that changed you? What have you learned about yourself, or what have you, I don't know, tempered or done to yourself as a mom?
Well, I think that I can't raise my kids the way I was raised or what I needed when I was a kid. That was the hardest part to get over. So I needed a lot of different things. I needed constant stimulation. Like I have a big personality, but Zara is very introverted and very quiet and very, one with nature. And I liked fashion and clothing and dressing up in sheets. And she's like, I don't want to be bothered with any of that. So it's very different to really look at your kids and go, what do they need? What do they want out of life? Like, how do I make their world
I also think it's really fascinating when you, especially with a daughter, have a daughter who is just cut from a totally different cloth than you. And I feel like it's like the greatest life lesson that you're learning.
100%.
Because that idea of trying to love and appreciate, of course you love them unconditionally, but that really like them and appreciate them and understand them when they're so different than you.
And we should be able to do that with our humans.
You pick your friends, right? Friends pick you pick your spouse, they pick you back. Yeah. It's a journy. It's really a fascinating thing.
I think they are what they are from the time they're born.
Yeah,
I looked at Zara was born. I looked at her. I said, she's an old soul. This baby is just an old soul.
And you can feel that when you meet her.
Yeah,
she has that way about her that is this very. Like an old soul, like someone who's just been here a long time or something. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
pretty kind of cool.
Yeah,
what about your son?
He's a pistol. And from when I was pregnant with him, I said, this is we're going for a ride. Like, this is crazy. From day one. So
always in motion.
Yeah, and both of them were preemies. Sebastian was 2 months early. Zara was 5.5 weeks early. And both were not supposed to be so strong and so smart. And, they went against the odds. And both powerful, and they know what they love. And he's just a spitfire. He's crazy. He's loves hard. He plays hard. He's me, and Zara is Carlos. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Good balance.
Yeah.
So when you get out of college, tell me about those first jobs that you had, whether they were jobs you had while you were in school, but tell me a little bit about some of those first few jobs.
So when we left Penn State, Carlos and I left Penn State together, and he got a job with Walmart as a store manager in the Fogelsville store. And so he just took it because we were at a job fair, and he thought that was the right thing to do. I need to get a really secure job. This is a great opportunity. They paid for us to move, blah, blah, blah. And we moved here, and I thought I would go and get my doctorate in psychology and become a psychiatrist. So that was our plan. So we moved here, and the night before he was supposed to start at Walmart, he just looked at me and said, this is not me. I don't want to do this. And so I was like, don't do it. Absolutely don't. I don't care what happens. Don't do it. So we called our parents, all 4 of them, and 3 out of the 4 said, you are crazy. You need security. You're going to have a family at some point. You need insurance. You need the whole thing. And my dad said, just do it. Ditch it. Who cares? Go find something you love to do. So we were like, we're going to take his advice. So we did. We ditched it, and we started what did we do then? We wanted to open up clothing stores at that time, but we needed money before we could do that. So we were pretty flat broke by that point. So we started shopping at thrift stores and reselling the clothing online. So we started a business that way.
And to give people a frame of reference, you're really talking about the early days.
2003.
Yeah. I mean, the internet's still a baby. And this whole idea of retail shopping is definitely not developed even close to where it is now.
No, it was very ahead of its time, per se. My senior year of college at Penn State, I was going to thrift stores in between classes and buying design. I mean, I was finding Missoni knits. Like, people were not shopping these thrift stores for Gucci suits and whatever. And I was just pulling them out of the racks one by one in between class. And my senior year of college, I made $75,000. Just put it in the bank, excited. And we got our apartment and did all this stuff. And
Yeah, you knew you had tapped into some sort of market.
Exactly.
And ever since then, you have continued to build an online presence. I mean, and Carlos, I should mention, has a strong IT background,
Thank
right?
God, yes.
So he's kind of
It's all him.
little bit of the machine. You're the
Yeah.
visionary. I guess maybe, I don't know.
You're right. 100% you're
vision,
right. Yeah.
which is so cool.
Yeah.
You know, yin yang. I love it.
Yeah.
But what have you guys learned? You've worked together. I mean, it's one thing to be married. It's a whole nother thing to work together.
But
maybe
we've
that's
always
what he
been
knew.
that. Yeah, maybe that's what he knew. Yeah, we'd be crazy to work together all day long. We don't know anything different. So if you are 10 years into your relationship and then you decide you're going to go from your 9 to 5 separate jobs and then suddenly start working together, selling baseball bats, it's probably not going to work. And the same goes for us. We've built a business together, several, and working apart is not something we could ever think about doing, just the way people that work 9 to 5 jobs in different situations would probably be horrified at working together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I want to learn a little bit more. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I want to talk a little bit about your kind of rise to fame in the beauty industry and this journey you've been on with Beauty Counter and your jewelry line, and we'll learn more about that. So stay tuned, guys. We're with Rahmieneh Ortiz. Hey, are you looking for a place unlike any other? Well, enjoy the twists and turns of Dorney Park, explore a new world underground at Lost River Caverns, or create colorful memories at the Crayola Experience. Whatever you decide, Discover Lehigh Valley is your source to finding out what's happening in our area. To find a new adventure, check out their website at discoverlehighvalley.com. Okay, everybody, we are back with Unscripted with Russo, and I am here with my good friend Rahmieneh Ortiz. And Rahmieneh is an innovator. You've been busy. You were always bouncing around, moving around as a kid.
Yep.
Met your husband early. He knew something you didn't.
Yes,
so you say, which I love. You trusted that vision.
Yeah.
And then you guys started this online resale store, basically because you needed jobs, but you didn't really want to do the traditional thing.
We didn't want to do something that wasn't really true to
You
who
want to
we
feel
were.
passionate about it every day,
and everything we've done since then has always been passion-based. Everything.
When people hear that, I'd imagine that the majority is you're crazy.
Oh yeah,
without a
all
doubt.
the time.
Yeah,
and so many people, traditionalists, will say, you really need to have a 9 to 5 job. You need to have security. You need to have, all these things, and that's great.
I guess if you need that, you need it, but it doesn't mean everybody else needs it. Yeah,
right. Some people need it.
What do you say to people who are kind of on the fence, or someone who has a passion for something but they're not sure what to do? And what's your advice for people?
Everybody is good at something. What are you passionate about? What are you good at? What do you do well? What do you enjoy? Stick to that. It doesn't matter if you're making a ton of money or not. Now, if your focus is I need to have security and make money, then you might have to give that up. And if that's okay with you, but you have to decide what your priorities. Is it money or is it passion? And can you find both in one? And that's really where secret sauce is.
Right? Yeah, that's what everybody's looking for.
Yeah, but most people know what that is. They just don't have the courage to really say, it's okay that I'm going to downsize and live maybe in a 1-bedroom apartment and just make my dreams come true, because I need to stay in this 3-bedroom house and I need to pay these bills and I need to keep up with this sort of pride and whatever else.
Well, also, I think there's this thought that if you don't achieve it all by the time you're 25 or 30 or whatever the magic age people, that there's no hope. And I have to say, through this podcast, I can't tell you the number of people that are really kind of in a senior stage of their life that are doing these innovative
Isn't that great?
things.
I love that.
I do too. I think it's so interesting.
And I always have to remind myself, actually Carlos, my husband, always reminds me when I'm like, I don't know, what am I going to do next? Or this idea's not going to work. He will remind me. I think there's this picture online somewhere where it shows, the biggest innovators of our time and when, they did whatever,
I've
right?
seen that.
So it's like,
incredible.
he peaked and failed, and look, he, invented the light bulb at 96 years old or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, I still have time. Why am I so stressed out over this?
Yeah. But again, sort of saying yes, taking opportunity.
Say yes.
Do you feel like that's just something that's in your nature?
Yeah.
And how has that served you well?
Saying yes to things? It's out of everybody's comfort zone to say yes to things, because again, it's just, you kind of make excuses. We are human beings. We're always like, I'm tired, I should take care of myself, I should do this. But if you step outside that comfort zone and you force yourself, remind yourself last time you were outside your comfort zone and you said yes, how great that was and how you overcame it. Do it again. And when you just think back and see how far you've come from all those decisions, hopefully that will get easier.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's good advice, though.
Yeah, I try, but I don't always follow my own advice.
All right, so you know that you are our jewelry fairy godmother.
Oh my gosh.
Which we just love, and
you're
all
my
of your
jewelry
stuff is.
model.
Well, I have to tell you, it's like I'm relatively obsessed.
Oh my gosh.
And you pushed me recently outside of my comfort zone a little
Good.
with some brighter,
Yeah.
Earrings that are fun and fabulous. So I'll be debuting those this fall. But tell me a little bit about your jewelry business and how is it structured? Where do you mostly sell, and where can people find you?
So it is mostly online. Actually, it's all online. And then I'll do my trunk shows, which I love to do. I love to be able to get in front of people and see what everybody loves and what their reactions are to things. So I have my website, Rahmieneh.com, and Carlos runs the whole thing. I could not do it without him. I couldn't afford it. He would be way too expensive. So I do it online and Instagram and Facebook and my trunk shows, and that's been about 4 years now. And it was kind of born out of this idea that Sebastian was a year old, and I kind of was losing that steam of like being creative. I wanted to be a mom, but I also wanted to be creative, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and you can't do it all at once. But I wanted to, so I thought, how can I have this fashion industry and stay in the fashion industry and have this business? So jewelry is small enough that you could pack it up basically in a hat box and show up at somebody's house, put it all out on a table, and open a bottle of wine and just start talking about it. What do you like? What don't you like?
How do you find the space though? Like with the network marketing companies that also do jewelry, and then every store now carries jewelry, even stores that didn't used to carry jewelry.
Charming
carry
Kelly
jewelry.
just went out of business, so
They
there's more
did.
room for me.
There is, of course. But how do you carve yourself out in that
Well, it's just
space?
like McDonald's and Burger King. I mean, they're always across the street from each other, so
Right.
they're selling burgers. So there's room for everybody. And even though we sell, like with Beauty Counter, it's an MLM business, a direct sale business. But there are other businesses out there too that are selling, stuff for your lashes and the same kind of lipsticks that we carry. But we're a mission-based business. There's room for everyone.
Right. So it's kind of connecting with your audience,
Yeah.
your customer base, and what
Absolutely.
you stand for.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about building your brand. You have a big following on Instagram in particular. You do lots of live broadcasts. You do lots of posting. Your story's always full. What is your philosophy there? And do you enjoy that piece of the business?
I do. I love it. The only thing I will tell you that probably surprises people is that I don't love to take selfies. I don't like to take pictures of myself, but it's part of the business. What the feedback that I got was, I want to see you wearing the jewelry. So I was like, okay, all right. So I'll pick a day, when I've washed my hair and curled it, then, I'll do the selfie. So, yeah. And
I've seen a few in baseball caps.
yes,
You guys
a
love
few
to
in baseball-
fish.
We do. And
I
I,
mean,
will
that's
do a few on the boat.
I want to say, I
Just
think
keep it
that's
real.
also a surprising little
Yeah.
fun fact about you,
Yes.
because you always look ridiculously glamorous. Always. You're
Oh,
always
thank you.
I don't care if it's your $6 Target skirt.
$6, yes.
But everything you do, it's your t-shirt, you always look great and
Thank
glamorous.
you.
But you spend a lot of your free time in the outdoors.
Yes.
And fishing and,
Yeah.
and holding worms
Yeah.
and dead
'Cause
fish.
it's good
and,
content too.
Yeah,
Let's be real. It's like content building business
I
here.
mean, of course, I can tell that you genuinely love it, but I also feel like
Yeah.
you've pushed yourself out of your comfort zone a little to
Yeah.
embrace what's important to your family.
Well, it's yes and no, but you'd be surprised to find out that's where me and my mom and my dad. Well, is that right? Me and my mom. I know my mom, my dad, and me. No, I. Me. Me. Okay. So, anyways, my mom and my dad and I would go fishing all the time and camping. And when we didn't have money, what else do you do? We wanted to have adventures, so we would camp in Lake Tahoe, and we lived in California and upstate New York and Finger Lakes. We lived 5 minutes from Lake Ontario. Fishing was a huge part of my childhood, so I love it. And then I let that go when I went to Penn State. Where was I going to go fishing at Penn State? And so, and then Carlos and I picked that up again really seriously about 5 years ago. So love it. It's like my passion, one of my passions.
I love that. I love that. It's so unexpected. So
Yeah.
that's your secret hobby.
Yes,
that's what
my
you should answer.
secret
Your
hobby.
secret hobby.
That's, I always think to myself, I don't have any hobbies. But I
You
do.
do.
You're right. I
You
never thought about
do.
that. Yeah.
All right. So what is the future for you? What's your vision? And I know that for you, it's an ever-changing path,
Yeah,
but
it's constantly.
what's kind of on the horizon?
Well, I would love to build my team, not just a beauty counter, just to like have a downline, but I really love working with other women. I just really enjoy that. And I miss that from raising my kids on my own, me meaning like home and with them and with Carlos, of course. But, I let go of having employees and I just went back to doing my jewelry business and growing it myself, but I'm really excited to grow a team with my jewelry business and with my beauty counter business.
Which is
I
nice that you
love
have
working with
beauty
people.
counter and there's so much support.
Exactly. It fills that void for me.
Before we go to our rapid fire questions, which is
God.
the end, I do want to just ask you about being a mom. So as a mom who's building a business and an entrepreneur, what is that like? Tell me a little bit about the balance and the concerns that you have.
I don't think there's ever a balance. Like there's just no such thing as that. And I think
Yeah, me
it's one of
neither.
those things like somebody created this word and was like, oh, let's just use this for marketing. We'll make lots of money because moms are always looking for balance. And it's not like if you want to sell a product, just say that it's going to fix, balance and then everybody will buy it. There's no such thing as balance. Every single day in my mom life it's totally different from the day before. Their moods, their needs really directly affect mine.
Their schedules.
And, my hopes and dreams for them do not coincide with their hopes and dreams. So it's, I got to let that go and see what they need. And, it's very hard to work in your own needs. And I definitely have lost myself and had to pick the pieces back up and say, oh my God, I used to love to go shopping so much. I need to get back out there. I need to go once, even a month, and just go walk around to Marshall's for 2 hours by myself. And just remember who I am in those kind of senses. So, because you can lose yourself in momhood, like it swallows you up.
That is a great lesson to
Yeah.
make sure you don't lose yourself in the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, we should tell the audience you have not heard these questions. You do not know what they
Great.
are. But this is your favorite kind.
Okay.
All right. Your best holiday memory.
Oh my gosh. Finding out that Santa Claus wasn't real and being like, aha, I knew it. And like feeling like relieved. I remember I went and I kind of had a hunch. I went in the guest room closet and I found the presents and I was like, see, why couldn't you just tell me? Like, just.
Yeah,
Okay,
you were too much of a
I
realist.
can help you with this.
All right, this is a good one. What is your favorite Halloween costume ever?
Gosh. Okay. So there's two. When I was a kid, I would be an owl like 3-4 years in a row because my dad went to New Orleans and brought this owl mask that was like 2 feet high up in the air with feathers. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. So year after year, I was an owl. And then when I was an adult, because I'm so tiny, as you noted earlier, I found an Elvis costume in the kids department at Target. So I've been Elvis like 5 times.
I have to.
Yeah,
I
I'll
hope
show
you'll
you
be
pictures.
providing us with a picture
I mean,
of this.
how many? 6 weeks? I'll bring in Elvis.
Okay, what is your latest binge watch on TV or your iPad or wherever you watch
Well, I don't
programming?
watch TV. So I just learned how to work Netflix, which is ridiculous. So yeah, the only series I did recently watch like last year was The Crown. I'm obsessed with the royal family. I don't know if it's just
See, this is because they
Yes.
dragged you out of England at 2,
They
and you
dragged me out
never
of England. You took away my royalty.
aspirations.
Exactly.
Okay, what is a destination that you have never been to that's on your bucket list?
Greece. I would love to go. Are you
I'm
going there?
I'm
Oh,
going in a
I'm
few
going in
weeks.
your
My
suitcase.
20th anniversary. You were not taking my
I would fit
suitcase.
your suitcase. Yes, you probably have like 4 huge.
I will bring
humongous.
you back pictures and an
Please do.
itinerary.
Like
so
a
that you
little,
can-
like a little thing of sand. Just do
Yeah,
that, like a
okay,
little
you
thing of
got
sand.
it.
Okay.
You're- I'm on it.
That's all I want.
Okay, if you could bring anything to a desert island, what would you bring?
Oh gosh, I would say my phone because I'm always attached to it. What would I bring besides my kids and my family?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, a camera. I mean, and that's on my phone. From the time I was very young, my dad worked for Kodak, so it's like I have a million pictures of my childhood. And I think so many people don't. And my brother-in-law, as you know, is a photographer, and he's always like, print those pictures. And it's just a camera. I want everything documented.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, now we get to turn the tables and you get to ask me a question.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right. So I've always wanted to interview you, by the way.
Okay, well.
If you could compare your interviewing style to anybody, would it be Howard Stern, which we've talked about before, Oprah, or Barbara Walters? You didn't make me cry, so I don't know if C is
didn't
really.
make you- I
You
didn't make you
didn't make me
cry.
Maybe almost, but no.
I actually, gosh, I mean, first of all, I can't even imagine comparing myself to any of those
Oh,
three
come
amazing
on.
legends. Although
Give
I
yourself
love
some
them
credit.
all equally. I
Yeah.
do personally think Howard Stern is the greatest interviewer of all time.
really is, yeah.
I don't have the level of sort of comedy
Oh,
in me.
you're a funny
I'm not,
girl.
Thanks,
You're
but
funny.
I'm not. I don't think I'm quite as witty.
Yeah.
That I can interview
Oh,
like him.
Okay, all right.
I think I probably early in my career would say maybe Barbara Walters because I really went to school for journalism and I like that kind of
love that.
hard-hitting style, but I don't love news.
Okay.
And so I would probably say if I could aspire to be Oprah, just because I
Yeah.
like the human connection. For
Oh,
me,
yes.
all the stories, all the work we do is all about the people behind them.
Yep.
And so I think that, of course, Oprah was the one who made that, you know,
Yeah.
just famous as a style, and of course is the master. So
Oh,
yeah, so I
love
guess
that.
yeah,
That's
but
a
I
good
mean,
answer. I like that answer. I think that suits you.
Thanks.
Because you didn't make me cry.
Thanks. Not this time, but
Not
I'll
this
get you
time.
next time.
Great.
All right. Well, Rahmieneh Ortiz, thank you so much for being our guest. And
Thank
we want
you.
people to know if you want fabulous jewelry or wonderful, amazing, healthy facial products, you can go check Rahmieneh.com out. And I just think you're the best. We're
Oh,
so
thank
happy.
you.
I'm so
You're
happy
the
to have
best.
met you. I mean,
Thank
I haven't even
you.
known you that long, and I feel like I've known you forever.
Yeah, last year in September.
So it's like our 1 year anniversary.
It is.
Oh my
It is.
gosh, happy anniversary.
Rosé.
All day. Thanks for listening, everybody.